This week on Right Now, Justin Trudeau's brother Kyle Kemper tells us why he's publicly criticised Trudeau's treatment of the Canadian Freedom Convoy and his handling of the pandemic and invoking the Canadian Emergencies Act. Katrina Hermez tells us about her life-changing reaction to the unmentionable. And prison nurse Nigel Simpson tells us about standing up to vaccine mandates and what life's been like behind bars over the last 2 years. Friday, 7 p.m. UK, Ickonic.com.
Since 2001, it wasn't not 2001. Since I started kind of asking questions about 9/11, there was a divide, and I support Justin. He was on his own little journey up the channels that he up swimming upstream on his channel or river, and it wasn't mine. And I kept asking questions and searching for truth. And anytime I kind of presented to Justin, it was kind of met with deaf ears a little bit. But in the last 2 years, I've just been before that I was kind of just on the sidelines and supporting him and wishing him well. But in the last 2 years, specifically the last year and a half, ever since they started just because he kind of turned into a salesperson for the pharmaceutical industry. I felt it really important to start speaking up about this and start looking at, criticizing by creating, and a real catalyst happened with this freedom convoy. I mean, someone just asked for an interview. I was like, okay, I'll do interviews. I don't mind. I'm comfortable speaking. And so we started talking about this situation in the world. And I guess that interview with the Western Standard kind of got a lot of views and the message resonated, and and then the whole Freedom Trucker thing, which was just so incredible and such an amazing energy, kind of kicked into full gear. And I support the people, I support freedom, I support liberty, and it seems like Justin is reading a script, and a lot of people are channeling all their energy at Justin. And I'm trying to I don't think that's totally fair either, because he's part of the problem. He's not the entire problem.
Everything's changed now. But what was your life like before the vaccine?
My life was really good. I'm actually in my own spa area where I used to work. And being here is actually quite hard for me, because this is where I used to see my clients every day or a lot. And yeah, so I used to work, I had my own business, I was studying, I had a really great social life that I kept up really well, and I was really fit, I was really healthy, I got my whole family involved in runs, and it was just a really good life before. Never had anything going on with me, so this is bizarre.
So obviously, like you said, you were very fit, very, very active, and now you've been put in a wheelchair. What do doctors say, if anything, about the prognosis going forward with that?
So the doctors are saying it's psychological. That's the majority of the doctors that are saying it, who have only seen me for about 10 minutes or who've only talked to me for about 15 minutes.
What's it been like in the prison system over the last 2 years?
It's been really similar to the wider community. When I joined the current prison that I'm working in, lockdown was at its height. So essentially the prison was locked down, in the sense that the prisoners had no access to usual activities such as work, apart from essential work. They couldn't access the gym. They couldn't have in-person visits, so that meant they couldn't see their families. They also couldn't have legal representation on a face-to-face basis. So their whole routine and structure was taken away in quite a major way, because I've worked in prisons for a long time, and prisoners thrive on regime and structure, and all of a sudden that had disappeared.
How did it affect them mentally? Because I'm thinking, obviously, a lot of these prisoners will probably have children on the outside. That all of a sudden they can't see their kids for 2 years. They don't get the exercise. I mean, that must be because you're essentially locking down people that are kind of already locked down anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it was a combination of some people, just like those in the wider society, were very accepting of the restrictions and didn't seem to have any notable impact on their mental health, especially the more seasoned prisoners, because they're used to sort of having to give up their liberty anyway, and this was just another extension of that. But then we had the other side of it, particularly with people maybe first time in custody, and they were either developing a decline in an already existing mental health condition, or they were experiencing for the first time depression, anxiety. And as a mental health nurse, our job was compounded by the lockdown because, with the exception of what was deemed a mental health emergency, everything we did was over the telephone.